Hey, Charlie,
Hi, Jimmy.
where do droids go when they run away?
I have no idea.
To join the circuits.
Oh, Jimmy, that one was astronomically bad. That was. Have I missed this? I don't know if I have.
One of us testing. Roger, roger.
Jedi.
That's no moon. It's a space station.
Always a pleasure to meet you.
And my allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy!
You failed your Highness. I'm a Jedi.
Hello, explorers, and welcome to the only international Star Wars podcast covering almost half of the world, but only 0.5% of the galaxy. I'm Charlie, and as always, thank you for joining us wherever you are in the Star Wars universe.
Yes, welcome back to Explore the Force, where we cover all things Star Wars. I'm Jimmy the Jedi. As always, welcome back or welcome along if you are new to the show.
And if you are joining us today for episode 169, if you get a chance, don't forget to give us a rating, a like, a share, and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Charlie, how are you doing?
I am doing okay. I am tired, but I'm doing well. Finally getting used to having a dog in the house and having a new member of the family. And honestly, I've really just enjoyed a week of sitting on the sofa, to be quite honest. But back to work next week, so we shall see. Jimmy, how are you doing?
I don't know. I haven't stayed awake and up and got up so early in a very long time. It was awesome. Rebel Scum Con 3. I'm buzzing from that adventure. It's always a great time, and this is easily the best one I've had. We'll get into that more in Force Encounters, but I do have start week 2 of teacher training tomorrow. Tomorrow. So, but no, it's great. It's a good way to cap off the summer for me and get ready for the school year. So, Krissy,
Good.
I'm getting ready to gear up for work. Are you getting ready to kick your kids out of the house?
Yeah. I was like, oh, it's been a great summer. We're having a good time. And I think as we get closer this last week, I was like, you know what? I think it's time we have some time apart for a little bit. Oh, no, but I love them and I hope they have a great time. But some quiet now would be nice.
Go. All right. Well, speaking of all that, let's head into our Force Encounters for this week, shall we?
For my ally is the Force.
All right. Man, like I said, we're going to, I think, because Mike and I are not able to do Jedi and the Mailman on Tuesday live, but we may be coming. We're trying to figure it all out, but there may be a bunch of us coming on live Tuesday to recap Rebel ScumCon. We're looking at having Clan Fett, which is Brandon and John, possibly having our Ron from Jedi Chat, and a bunch of some other people. And so that'll be a lot of fun. But my goodness, Rebel ScumCon, as it gets bigger and bigger, you get more and more stuff. I had some great conversations. I got to meet, and I'll show everybody, I'll do a little something, do a little video with everything I got, but I got to meet Bryce Dallas Howard, which was phenomenal. It's a little sad. She's doing her panel today. So that bummed me out a little bit that I missed that, but I got to have, I don't know, like 5-7 minutes with her.
Wow.
So that was really cool to chat with her. She's really engaging and like kind of into, having these conversations. Getting Adlon, I gave her a little AT-AT fidget thing when I met her, and she was like freaking out. I thought, okay, she's just acting, that's what they do. But I came back later to get Vanessa Marshall's autograph, and she was still over there playing with it and hadn't seen me. So I was like, heck yeah. So, but yeah, lots of fun interactions, got to meet some cool people, tons of podcasters and creators and influencers. And it's just good to see everybody. But yeah, that is a weekend that I hope that I never have to miss, because that's a lot of fun. It's more fun to me than even like a celebration, because we just get to spend so much time together as a group afterwards, and fun dinners and events and things like that. So yeah, Rebel Scum Con, all the friends. Out of the 3 I've had, this has been the best one, just given the fact that we're down there with a big group and stuff. So lots and lots of fun. Krissy, do you have any Force encounters?
Well, not really. I'm still making my way through the Living Force. I took a break this week. A little bit before getting on here, though, I saw a really sad Obi-Wan and Anakin edit, so that I had to recover from that for a bit. It was to that song. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Tarzan, the Phil Collins song. You'll be in my heart. That's like one of my favorite songs. And it was that. And then you just sit there with all the sadness. It's like they really just loved each other and they just couldn't get it together. So if I find the person who made that edit, it's not nice. I don't need to cry over these people, but I do. What about you, Charlie?
So mine is kind of tangentially Star Wars, but we'll go with it. Now that I have a greyhound, I have joined what is commonly referred to as the greyhound owners cult. It's basically what it is. My entire life now revolves around greyhounds. And on the 27th of September, the Great Global Greyhound Walk is happening, which is where dog walking events across the entire world, I think it's basically every country, do walks where people with all different kinds of sight hounds, whippets, Italian greyhounds, all of that come together. And it's themed, so you dress your dogs up, you dress up. We see where this is going. The theme this year is mythical mutts, and I sort of wonder if a Star Wars costume might be the way to go, and can I reasonably turn my sight hound into the actual mythosaur?
That would be cool.
Yes. Oh, they're gonna look so cute.
That would be cool.
This dog has no idea what's going to happen at Halloween. Every single day I'm going to put her in a new costume. Can't wait to turn her into a dragon. Really excited for that.
She's got the body for it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cute. I love that.
Also, sorry, this is all I talk about now is my dog. This is the kind of person that I've become.
Dog people.
Yeah.
Yeah, welcome to the club. So, all right, well, those are good Force encounters. I'm sorry that you're sad, Krissy. Well, hopefully we'll cheer you up with some good conversation this afternoon. So let's go ahead and dive into some of the news this week.
The people in this crowd will soon be among almost 40,000.
For those who are among the 900 with news media or promotional tickets, the sneak preview probably will be the only chance to see the Empire Strikes Back.
All right, D23 is looking to be packed. I can't believe that's this week. Like, this comes out on Tuesday. That starts on Friday, I think, or Thursday.
Yeah.
D23 is looking to be packed this year with lots of Star Wars goodness. On Friday, a Lego Star Wars conversation with Shelby Young, Ahsoka spotlight, creatures and characters with legacy effects. With The Mandalorian and Grogu, meet and greet happening multiple times a day. On Saturday, Hasbro is bringing Star Wars characters to life through toys and designing. The Mandalorian and Grogu conversation with Doug Chang. He is phenomenal. He saved my Celebration Anaheim from being a complete and total bust, getting to hear him speak. And then he's very welcoming and warm to people. That's a story for another time. But I got to meet him at London, so that was cool. On Sunday, the making of Star Wars, The Experience, which we discussed last week. And finally, inside Star Wars Mall, Shadow Lord with Matt, Matt Minchin. How do you say that? What is it?
McNavets, I think.
Sure, we'll go with what Charlie said. But ultimately, what we really want is the D23. We want a Starfighter trailer or...
To me.
Yeah, or is it like Ahsoka? Do we get both?
Yeah.
Both
That's
is
a lot
good.
of information. Which would you guys want? Which do you want more? Ahsoka trailer? Starfighter? Krissy?
I think I want Ahsoka more. It's just been so long. Something. Give me something.
Yeah. I got a 5-hour drive back it was 4.5 hours from Dallas to Wichita, and I was with Clamber and DeLorean, and we should have just recorded our whole trip and just flooded out the 4 hours of Star Wars talk, but this came up a lot, and it kind of got me fired up for what's going to go on, because we were like sitting there trying to like rationalize what's going to happen in Peridia.
Nice.
Both totally completely wrong, but it was a lot of fun. So I think I want Ahsoka because we're closer to that, and then maybe but I want both. I mean, if I can have what I want. So yeah, that's great. That's exciting. Lots of new Star Wars stuff coming out, so that's very cool. What else do we got?
Yes. And then another Star Wars project has been revealed to be canceled, a standalone untitled film by the director and writer of Paddington 2, which I have not seen, but I've heard the Paddington movies are phenomenal. Paul King and Simon Farnaby were once developing their own movie set in the Star Wars universe. The project, which was supposed to be directed by King, ultimately never moved forward, and in recent interviews with Variety, Farnaby confirmed the cancellation and shed more light on why this project didn't make it past development. According to Farnaby, the scrapped movie would have focused on a robot and was supposed to be a standalone story that didn't rely on familiar characters from the mainstream Star Wars saga. That approach apparently created several issues during development as the filmmakers struggled to connect the story and its character to the franchise. Did any of you know about this one? Because this was kind of new to me.
First I'm hearing of this. This is crazy.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, that's cute though. I like that because like they made Paddington, which is a bear. So that I wonder what their minds were working up with a robot. That's kind of an interesting concept.
How do you, if it's not going to use any mainstream characters from the saga, then what's the problem? Like if it says it struggled to connect the story and its characters to the franchise. I mean, I think visually you could do things and it would just be like you're in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Mention the Empire or mention the Force once or twice and you're in Star Wars, right?
Even just like the visual of Star Wars, I think you could pick it up just by like looking at it. I think it's got a very unique like vibe to it that I think you could be able to see in the environment. But that would have been cool because now it gets my brain thinking of like, was it a practical droid? Like what kind of effects? Like what was Industrial Light and Magic? Like what were they working on? So a little sad. That's actually kind of sad to see that not come to fruition, but it happens, I guess. Yeah.
It feels like if I had an actual list of all of the Star Wars projects that had been pitched and then immediately cancelled, it'd be like in one of those comedy skits where you unroll the scroll and it just goes on forever and ever and ever and ever.
Yeah.
It's just 80 foot down the hallway. I don't know, I find it hard to believe the kind of rhetoric of couldn't connect it to the wider story. Like we're talking about this later on in the episode, but like Visions.
No.
So many like little stories, completely unconnected characters, unconnected to the main story in any way, shape or form, but still Star Wars, still identifiably Star Wars. So I call bull on that, I think. I don't know. Something about that seems a bit off to me.
No, yeah, I agree. And it seems like it would have been right up their alley because I feel like this would have been like very kid focused. Like this would have been a great. I'm speculating because they made Paddington, but like that's what I think they were probably cooking up is like kids.
Robot Paddington.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But
oh, please.
But sad.
Well, less sad. If there are any of our listeners who are Welsh speakers, I really, really am sorry. My Welsh is not as sharp as it probably should be. Yaki da, Star Wars fans, which means good health. Cheers. On Tuesday at the National Eisteddfod, the vast Welsh Music and Poetry Festival, it was revealed that a Welsh language version of the 1977 blockbuster Star Wars will be shown on the Welsh television channel S4C and its platforms on Christmas Day. Rhys Ifans, who's appeared in Harry Potter and Spider-Man films, as well as Notting Hill, voices the Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi. Matthew Rhys, who's a winner of Primetime Emmy, voices Han Solo. Amy Fionn-Edwards, best known for her roles in Peaky Blinders and Slow Horses, is Princess Leia. Mark Lewis-Jones, who had a role in the 2017 Star Wars film The Last Jedi, is Welsh Darth Vader.
I want to hear that.
I am genuinely really, really excited to watch this. I spent a lot of time in Wales as a kid, and I think the language is absolutely beautiful and does not get the representation that it deserves. And seeing it turn to Star Wars makes me like deliriously happy. I'm not going to understand a word. It's going to be brilliant.
That sounds really cool and exciting. I still don't understand how that language comes from the same island. Do you know what I mean?
I know, it's crazy, isn't it?
Like it just so doesn't make any sense because, we have a friend of our show, Luke, and he will, every time it's your birthday, he will blow you up with the Welsh happy birthday. And every once in a while he'll talk to it. When we'd see him, I've seen him in person like twice, I think. And he would drop some lines. Just, it's incredible. And then I was watching, of all things, Welcome to Wrexham, the soccer stuff. And there was a whole episode about the Welsh language, and it was really kind of cool. Like it was, I mean, it's interesting. It's so weird to me though, like geographically speaking, how you could have two languages that are so different. I mean, there's like usually there's a root to this thing,
Not really, not with Welsh.
and it's just like it's like some kid made up their own language, and it was really cool, and it stuck. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just so
Yeah.
it's so different from English, and I think it's great though. I that's kind of cool. So very cool.
Yeah.
I am super, super, super excited. It'll be really. I love watching Star Wars at Christmas anyway, so it'll be really nice to watch it in a different language and just have some fun.
Yeah, that'll be neat. I want to hear this Darth Vader, Welsh Darth
Same.
Vader, James Earl Jones, like just kind of, because it's really long, it's like longer, like the dialogue and the wording and stuff. So that'll be really neat, cool to see. And I'll be curious to see how your Welsh friends and the ones we know, how they take to it, I guess.
Yes.
It'll be interesting. Maybe I'll reach out to Luke and see if he'll come on the show and give us his thoughts. So cool. Well, I know it's a short news segment this week, but I'm sure we'll have lots to talk about next week. It'll probably be like 3 hours long, just talking about the things that drop. Hopefully, the things that drop at the D23. And so, but we are going to move on to the main show for the day.
It's just a simple jump to hyperspace and we're there? What's so tricky about that?
Plenty. Can't plot a direct course to Kessel. You might want to buckle up, baby.
Right. A few weeks ago on Explore the Force, we broke down, it was me and Krissy and John from Clan Fett. We broke down the trailer for the Ninth Jedi. We asked this one question, is Cara turning to the dark side? Because, we see that clever stuff in those, the trailer of that, with the lightsabers changing colors and all that kind of stuff. The full series dropped on Wednesday, dropped on Disney Plus. Oh, we have episodes. I was shocked how long these episodes were. I thought we were getting like 8, 10 to 15 minute episodes, and it's like 4 hours of content. So, but spoiler warning, moving forward, we'll talk about anything that we want to talk about in the first 4 episodes. I haven't seen past the first 4 episodes because I drove back, watched them, almost fell asleep, not because they were boring, but because I'm exhausted, and then came down here to record. So I got questions. Have you guys... Krissy, how many have you watched? Have you watched them all or just the first 4?
I finished it. I worked my way through and I finished it, which is going to be hard for me because, spoiler alert, I like the second half better than I did the first half.
Okay, no, that's cool. That's exciting though. So I'll be curious to hear your thoughts in the first half and then know that the second half's going to ramp up. Charlie, how far the first 4 or did you finish?
I am just on the first 4 at the moment.
Okay, perfect. Our plan is to do the first 4 today. However long that takes, hopefully, we'll get out of here sometime this week. And then, just kidding, it won't be that long. And then come back next week, report on D23, and then finish up this series so we can kind of give it the, what we, it's due. We want to kind of dive into this because this is definitely new for Star Wars, go from these individual little episodes. And it's crazy to me to think that the Ninth Jedi is now like, well, we got like 5 hours of content in it, I think. So I guess, and I have a list of questions here. We can go through those. Krissy, I know you said you have copious amounts of notes, so we can go off of those as well. Just we'll go
Yes,
over.
please.
We're not going to really go in like order. We just kind of talk about some stuff. But going in, what were you most excited or nervous about with the full series versus the two shorts? Like, did you guys have any reservations about us getting a full series of any of this stuff?
Krissy, after you, my lovely.
So I think we talked about it on the other episode though, Jimmy. Like, my kind of opinion of it was that I was not wholly blown away by the 2 episodes that came out in the previous visions. So, like, I could see from a standpoint of view and like a general audience point of view why they would change this into a whole series. But for me personally, it was just like nothing there really wanted me to have more of this. You can tell that I'm going to be a little bit critical of this season. Not that it's bad. It's just I my whole general consensus with at least the first 4 episodes is I just wanted something more from it, and it didn't really just grab me as like any other Star Wars series would. And I think the big thing that we talked about last time, Jimmy, is like the whole time I'm watching this, because I'm such like, I try to connect all the stories together. I try to get into the lore. I want to know all that stuff. I want to know all the canon things. So like sitting down and watching this to me was a chore because it's 4 hours that does not connect to the greater story because it's not canon. And I know I don't want to be like the snob of it's not canon. There's things I appreciate. I appreciate it for what it is, but like for me personally, I could be looking and connecting the dots with something else that I really want to dive into because that's just what I like about Star Wars is like me filling in all the gaps and stuff. But I can see why other people would like this, and I can see how it could draw in some anime fans and get them into Star Wars as well. So
Cool. What about you, Chuck? What did you think about, like, were you nervous at all? I mean, because I remember, if I recall correctly, way back in the day, like you liked these episodes, like when we did Vision season 2, you liked, or 3, you liked Ninth Jedi, I believe.
I've always tried to be super duper positive about Visions because I feel like Star Wars has been stuck in somewhat of a rut, desperately trying to kind of fill in the gaps and kind of centralize and stabilize the story before anything kind of branches out. And I think Visions was so different and so out there because it's not connected to the main story. It technically exists in the outside of the canon, and there's so much space to play in all of that. It's the whole kind of sandbox trope. And yes, I like the Ninth Jedi episodes. They weren't my favorite by any stretch of the imagination, but I like the characters. I really like the visuals. I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit later because I could talk about the 2D, 3D mashup visuals in this series for hours. Beautiful, incredible, 10 out of 10. I didn't know how this would translate. It's what felt like quite a contained story. I feel like they've been quite bold to stretch it into a whole series. And like Jimmy said, I was not expecting. I sat down for this and was like, we're going to have like 15, 20-minute episodes. No. 31 minutes, 35 minutes. Full on proper episodes. And I mean, what an opportunity for the studio.
Yeah.
Excited, but I feel like I'm still getting there. Like I'm still getting into it. I'm 4 episodes in and I'm still sort of a bit like, okay, come on now.
All right. Yeah. Do you think, this is a little off the side, but do you think this is a way for them to gauge if they should do like non-canon stuff, like if they should bring it back or if they should be doing more in this realm? Because like, you know, these were these self-contained stories since season 1, and I mean, we were told like these aren't canon, blah blah blah, and, you know, but then you see how it affects some, you know, like Krissy, like you're saying, like it's hard to connect. I look for things from the movies and other episodes that like, oh, like they use that, here's that trope, here's that event a different way. So I mean, that's kind of how I connected in my head. But yeah, I could see where you guys are going with that. Do you think this is like they're testing the waters with this, or is this just like what you said, Charlie, like an opportunity to play in the sandbox?
I'm still inclined to think this is just playing in the sandbox. Okay. I feel like if they opened up that side of being able to expand past the canon, would that then dilute what we have as like current Star Wars canon? Would that take away from that? And suddenly it's like no holds barred. Everyone's at the gate. Everyone's raring to go. And where does it go from there? I think we need the restraint. I think Visions has the space to play because it's a completely different medium. In a way, it's not live action. And I think, I know what I'm saying. I'm not explaining it terribly well. I'm seeing nodding from everybody. So
no, I get it. I'm exhausted, but I understand.
Yeah, I think what you're trying to say is like they are trying. Star Wars is such a huge IP to let people just like have free range with it again. I think is something that they're probably a little bit nervous about, but they do know that there is a want and a need for like a what if series. Like a lot of comic fans and myself, like I love a what if story, but I think it's so different because we've only had like one really big like canon reset sort of within Star Wars, and that was getting rid of the legends and then making them not canon, depending on how you view that. I'm not going to get into it, but you know, like they had their sandbox then, and I almost think this is their modern day version of the EU. Is like people like the stories they had before, and we had all these things, and people viewed that kind of as a what if, and now we have Visions doing the same thing, and that's like kind of how I'm viewing it as well. It's just my entry point, I never had anything to do with the AU or the EU, the EU. So like I'm not super connected to the whole like what if point with Star Wars, because everything I know is like this is what's going on. But I do, like I said, I'm gonna be critical of this, but I'm also really positive about it. Like it's a fun thing they're doing. I like that these studios get to have their moment, and this IG knocked it out of the park. Like it's absolutely stunning. They did a phenomenal job. And I think this anime style lends very well to Star Wars. But yeah, I think they're just too protective of their IP to let everybody play in it, and this is their safety net of doing that. So
absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm going to save this question right before we dive into the episodes, but give me a one sentence or one word gut reaction to the season so far. Krissy, you've seen it all, so you can go without spoilers. The full sentence. I'm entertained. I feel like Maximus is in the arena. Are you not entertained? I'm like, yeah, I am. Thanks. So, but yeah, I've liked it. I've enjoyed it so far. I like the similarities between it, and I like the changes that they're making. And having only watched 4 and the way episode 4 ends, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I want to go back upstairs and I want to watch the next 4 because I thought, like you said. But anyways, my thing is entertained. So what about you, Charlie?
I would probably have to say something along the lines of like mystery. I feel like there's there are layers to this that I was not expecting. There are layers to this storytelling that something's afoot. Something's going on. And I feel like there are I'm sure we'll get into this in a little bit, but there are so many kind of narrative touch points that are so familiar to me as a Star Wars fan, so much that feels like a kind of thread of understanding. There are story beats and narrative devices and plot points that I've seen and I know and I love and I know that work together and work really well. And I think when you're pushing a medium that isn't to everybody's tastes, I know we've probably all watched a bit of anime as kids and as youngsters, but it really isn't everybody's kind of big passion in life. And I feel like you need to keep, especially with Star Wars fans, we're quite fussy and we're kind of big babies. And if it isn't familiar to us, then we sort of spit our dummies out and throw our toys out the pram. So this keeps everybody happy, I feel, whilst also keeping some interest and intrigue, which is really important in terms of storytelling.
All right, Krissy.
I'm not gonna do one sentence because I'm a yapper, or one word, but I'm gonna say a sentence.
Yeah, neither one of us have so far, so it's fine. I don't even know why I put that question in there.
I'm like one word, Jimmy. No,
one word.
One page. Word. You get 250 words.
I have notes. No. Yeah. When I finished it, I sat down with the first 4 episodes. What I thought, and Charlie kind of hit on this too. It's just a love letter to Star Wars, is what I thought. Like, I sat down, I watched the first 4 episodes, wrote my thoughts about it, and I was like, it's a love letter to this franchise. The beats they hit, the characters, like, how they introduced episodes, everything about it. Like, IG knows what they're doing, and I think they have a good understanding of what Star Wars is and what it means to everybody. And I think that Visions, the Ninth Jedi, is their like visual representation of like the love that they have for this franchise. So
cool. It's kind of funny, like George gets his inspiration from Japanese culture, and then anime, which is very Japanese, I mean obviously based from Japan, is going back and basically just completing that circle where like, oh, we're inspired by Star Wars that was inspired by us. And it's kind of a cool, just twist and how everything kind of molds together, I think. So
it's like poetry. It rhymes.
Yes. Yeah. You beat me to it.
All right. In the tradition of Star Wars, is there any music that really stood out for you in the first 4 episodes, or any traditional sounds or anything like that? Like, because like, we were just talking about that in the news where they couldn't connect that story to the thing, but sounds are so important in Star Wars. Ben Bird has done such a great job of like, this is a Star Wars sound, and it's a combination of 47,000 different things that you never knew. The guy's a mastermind, but any music or sound effects that really kind of stood out to you? I mean, I felt like when it was being dramatic, the music was good. There's nothing that I'm like, didn't like. I wasn't like, oh, what's this? And sound effects, sabers sound good, ships sound good. Like for me, it sounds good. I don't know. There was nothing to me though that stood out. But again, I am a little bit tired. So in all fairness, it could be some bangers in there. I just couldn't hear them this time. I'll rewatch it and I'll let you know. What did you think, Krissy?
I think I agree with you. Nothing really stood out for me. Like sound, I was trying to pick up on anything, and nothing was like, "Ooh, that was cool." But again, it was very consistent though, which is good. So at least they have a consistency down. Nothing played that I was like, "Why is that? Why does it sound like that? Why are we doing this?" So yeah, I think it was solid. It's a good time.
Think I was quite focused on kind of concentrating on the story because again, I feel like I'll get to this point in a bit. If you've not watched the other bits that are connected to this, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of brain work to work out what's going on and what's happening. And I feel like I was so kind of focused on the story and kind of refreshing my memory of all the stuff that came before and how we ended up here specifically with the characters that the music just kind of ended up as part of the background for me. Isn't bad by any stretch of the imagination, but like you two, nothing's particularly jumped out at me. However, the Foley art and the Foley sounds, ships, droids, background noises, sound effects, all of that, perfection, absolutely beautiful. I feel like there were times when if I wasn't quite watching the screen and I was just listening to it sounds like live action. And I think there's been a lot of care put into because again, Star Wars fans, we're fussy and we're particular and we notice everything. Detail is important to Star Wars fans, especially. And if a sound isn't right, we like it specific. And I think that plays off the only criticism in terms of sound. And I know this isn't technically music, but I watched the English dub and I will probably go back and watch the Japanese audio with the English subtitles. The dubbing wasn't terribly well synced to the visuals. I think that's sometimes I had to have the subtitles on because otherwise I wasn't quite sure who was talking because mouths weren't quite moving. It wasn't timed quite right. It might have been my internet. I don't know if anybody else had that issue, but for me, I struggled sometimes to kind of pick apart who was speaking.
I always watch stuff with the subtitles on. Like it's just something I do. So
yeah, same. So, but that's interesting that you picked up on that because that is something that will happen with dubbing. So
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, I have to go. I don't know. I'm curious. I'm about to turn them off and watch it. Like watch part of an episode. Be like, I just remember watching old Bruce Lee movies and like the mouth goes, nothing happens, and words come out. Yeah. And so see if that's happening in Star Wars Visions. So I don't have a massive background in anime, but how do we feel about the style, like how the concepts, the visualizations on there? Like, I know I'm going to sit back and let Charlie go on this one, but I'm one of those guys who I don't know art, but I know what I like. I like this. There's some things that I'm like, that's weird. Like some of the bad guys, like the henchmen, they're kind of freaking me out a little bit, the way they look. I'm like, why does he look like that? That's bothering me. But it's a good henchman if I'm uncomfortable looking at him. This was a complaint that I had in the Child of Hope episode from Vision Season 3 is sometimes they put stuff in there that looks like it's from the real world on top of this animation, and that kind of wigged me out a little bit. Like the droids kind of look like, it almost takes me out of like, or like the blue lights in the asteroid ships, like those lights looked real to me in this animated thing, and I'm like, is that a style? Like I don't know. So sometimes that kind of threw me off a little bit, but visually, like just with the sabers and the way characters look, and you can feel these like you said, like this love letter, you could feel like the inspiration to like Kylo Ren into Narwan and just different things like that. And I was like, that's cool. Like I like that, but it wasn't so like, oh, that's Kylo Ren. That's like, hey, this is kind of a nod to Kylo Ren, like in my opinion. So I liked it. I don't know how to describe it. I have no background in art. I can almost draw a stick figure now. So you don't want to hear what I have to say anyways. So Charlie, the floor is yours.
I am by no means an expert in anime. I have watched quite a lot over the years, and I really, really do enjoy it. I'm not like a diehard fan.
What's your degree in, Charlie? Real quick, stop. What's your degree in?
Sorry. My first class degree, my first class with honors degree, fine art, actually, fine art. Thank you,
I want everyone to realize that she's being humble. So
sorry.
Listen closely when she speaks.
It's the only thing I'll ever flex about in my life. So, The Ninth Jedi, this is a classic. It's what I would call like quite a classic anime style. This is a really, really nice blend of 2D and 3D animation. So anything that's big, like the ships, the planets, big sweeping backgrounds and landscape shots, that's all 3D animation. Whereas anything we see with the characters kind of close up, hand-to-hand combat is all traditional 2D animation. Something I love about The Ninth Jedi, this reminds me so much of Ghost in the Shell. It's that sharp, kind of high-end sci-fi aesthetic. It's really fluid. It's paced really nicely. That's something I loved about these episodes. The visual pacing was gorgeous. If people are Gundam fans, it's also really, really similar to that. Kind of armor, suits, ships, warfare, battles. Really, really sharp, really, really clean. I love that the 3D animation gives you this huge sense of scale and depth and space. I love the bad guy ship. I love in Star Wars when the ships feel massive, like that sense of horror when the Imperial Star Destroyers come over the screen and you're there in the cinema seat like this. That's what I want to feel from my Star Wars. Give me that sense of scale. And the 2D animation lends itself so beautifully to the fight choreography in these first few episodes. Like, it's absolutely gorgeous. It's quick, it's fast, it's sharp, clean. Absolutely beautiful. Right, somebody else speak because my mouth's getting dry.
No notes. You heard it from the expert, guys. No, I mean, I think you really actually did just nail it on the head, Charlie. Like, yeah. It is very it's very classic, like old sci-fi anime to me. And like I said, IG is the expert in that field with that genre. So like giving them Star Wars, I think was a slam dunk. So
I think visually this was absolutely the studio to carry on and keep going. Whilst there were other studios that I really, really enjoyed, I think this style specifically, like if I could see like a Marvel series like this, I'd eat it up in a heartbeat. I'd be absolutely here for that. I love.
Nice. Oh, that's exciting for people. You guys know a little bit more about it than I do, and I'm happy to hear that it meets, your expectations. So that's pretty cool. Speaking of those wide sweeping shots and beautiful backgrounds, was there any specific shot or fight sequence that really kind of like landed with you? And it doesn't have to be because visually, it could be because of visuals. Is there anything that like really stood out to you?
I really liked, I think it's the first episode where they do I think it's like quick flashes of just like ships and landscape together. There's one, I believe it's like a desert planet, and I don't know if it's a ship or a building, but that one it was just really pretty, and that stood out to me a lot. There's one scene though, in the later half of this that I would say, but I can't. But that one, anytime I look at a Star Wars, I did this with Maul too. Anytime I look at a frame and I'm like, if I could just print that out and put it on my wall, like, it's beautiful. And this show has a lot of that. Anything with like the landscapes or the backgrounds, I absolutely love. They did such a good job. But that specifically that one scene in the opening with like the desert, and I believe it's a ship like sticking out halfway. Oh, I loved it. It was fantastic.
Ooh. What about you, Chuck?
For me, apologies if I'm getting my episodes a bit mixed up. It would have to be the black hole in episode. Spoilers. Spoilers. It would have to be the black hole in episode 2. I think that was so visually beautiful to look at. To use kind of the monochromatic color and the shift in the music, the shift in the whole tone of like I thought I knew what it was, and then I looked at it, and it's like, oh goodness, who is Gramps? I'm fascinated. What does this droid know? Tell me everything.
Yeah.
Makes me think about like the Millennium Falcon, that droid, and then
L3, yeah.
Yeah, L3. Like, he feels, so many elements of this feel like some of my favorite bits kind of cherry picked from all of my favorite Star Wars characters, sort of kind of amalgamated together into new characters, and that's always really fun.
Nice. Yeah.
But yeah, the black hole was particularly beautiful.
I thought finishing up episode 4, and I don't know, maybe it's just because it's fresh in my mind, but the lightsaber battles and the way that when they had those 2 different battles that were going on, and like they kept going into the kyber crystal kind of thing, like, and I thought that was kind of a neat effect to be like showing the change. I mean, it's nothing spectacular on that aspect. I just thought it was a cool way to like kind of show us how things were changing, and then being able to connect those 2 battles together. I thought that was really fun. So I'm excited to, but yeah, I think you're right, Krissy. Like there are a lot of things where I'm like, oh, I want that art on my wall. Like I want to have that there. So, but speaking of Gramps, are there any characters that surprised you? And I will say, because I was actually going to say Gramps on this one, because where that droid goes from the beginning, the very first episode, the Ninth Jedi, he's grumpy. He's having his tea. It kind of feels a little bit different to me. I love it though. I think Gramps is hilarious. I think it's hilarious that they call him Gramps. But I really enjoyed that. That droid made me laugh, and just the piloting and stuff like that. And then of course how he talks in the 4th one. It's like, if I don't get you guys out of here, she's gonna never let me live it down, and all grumpy and stuff like that. But I thought it was a pretty cool character. But yeah, so you can talk about the main crew or any of the villains or anything like that. Who stood out to you? And then we'll get into like some questions about the actual episodes, I think.
Nice. So I think something I did particularly love is in Japanese animation, especially things like Studio Ghibli, like the family unit is something that's really, really essential. There's always a clearly defined kind of mum, dad, elder of some description, and a child. That's like the classic setup. And I feel like that's been really beautifully reflected in this little crew that they've got together. I love that you've got, hang on a sec, my brain's not working today. My brain, sorry, let me try that again. Family unit, yes, lovely and sweet. I was really genuinely taken aback by Nawam. I was not expecting that lightsaber reveal.
Oh.
I know that seems, because obviously in the first episode, immediately I was like, this feels very Kylo Ren, like the cadence of his voice, the kind of grain on it, the depth, all of that. And obviously you sit there and you're tricked into thinking kind of, oh, it's going to be a red lightsaber. Of course it is. I appreciated the subversion of that. I thought that was really interesting. But it does, like Jimmy, it does have to go with Gramps. Oh, he's changed so much and he's so fun.
Yeah, for sure. What about you, Krissy?
Yeah, I think so. This was one of my critiques for the series for the first 4 episodes. I will give you an agreement. I do think Gramps is the most like out of the main character of Kara, is the more interesting of everybody. Yeah, but one of my critiques is I said I feel the side characters are lacking or a bit like one note. Compared to the cast of characters from other projects, these are my least favorite. I don't think they're doing much of anything. And this is just for my first 4 episodes. This is nothing. I'm not spoiling anything. This is my thought. I wrote it right after I watched the 4th episode. I called one guy the wrong name the entire time I was watching it. Ethan. I thought his name was Kevin. I don't know why I thought his name was Kevin.
Kevin.
I was like, what is Kevin doing? And my husband was like, I don't think that's his name. I don't think anyone in Star Wars would be named that. And I was like, okay, well, and then no offense to the Kevins. And they're like, his name's Ethan. And I was like, see, I didn't even remember who he was. So this is my rant.
In Star Wars would be called, no, I agree with you actually, Chris. You've made a very, very good point here. Why have we got somebody, when everybody else's names are, I'm just going to reel some off here. Juro, Lazima, Dumbai. Well, we've got some really Star Wars sounding names. Why have we got an Ethan?
Yeah. I know we have a Luke, but it's different.
See, that is different. I will not elaborate, but it is different. Why is there an Ethan?
Yeah.
I feel like it is one of the only things that throws me off a little bit. Also, there are a lot of characters in this.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not paying attention, if you look away from that screen for like 2 seconds, that's it. You've lost it. You're gone. Something's happened and you don't understand what's going on.
Yeah. Absolutely. But
sorry.
No, you're good. That's just my big critique with this is like, I get excited when I get new Star Wars like crews, like units, because I'm like, we're gonna have our go-to guys. We're gonna have our Finns and our Poes and our Hans and our Leias, and like even with Maul, we had Spybot and we had Rook, and she was interesting. And then we have Ethan, who it hasn't done anything for 4 episodes. And Gramps is the only one that's like sassy, and no one else is sassy or has any point. And no offense to Juro and Kara, I know they're trying to like go on, but it's like even you guys are a bit flat for me. So that's a bit of my tangent
No, that's
there.
good.
It's just comparatively to every other project, this is my least favorite like squad unit. So I'm just saying, the clone troopers have more. The battle droids have more personality.
Ouch. Yeah, it occurs to me that we can just dive into we can just kind of dive into this and talk about whatever. Krissy, you got a book full of notes, so maybe you can just kind of like ask questions and we can all like, oh yeah, you're right, or oh, I thought this. But I did think Kara, is she too good? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, she's like, is it over the top how like good she is? Not in like as being a Jedi, but as a person. Like, she's like, I don't know, it was kind of weird to me, but yeah, I think the most interesting character is the one that's locked up in a cage with his backstory, but then they kind of very quickly, it's almost like the Acolyte where it's a mystery, but we're going to solve it in the first 5 minutes after we introduce this mystery to you. So again, and I haven't, I've only seen these first 4 episodes, so yeah, I can see that critique. Like Ethan, I was wondering after the first episode where he was until the end of it when they showed him. I was like, okay, he's on a mission. Homan, big giant bird guy, like what's he doing? I can't think of what's the new Jedi that they brought in?
Oh,
the guy, the mining elf or whatever it is.
Oh, I have his name.
Yeah,
Dunby? Is that his name?
Dunby. Yeah, he was interesting.
Dunby, yeah.
And I thought,
yeah.
So, but yeah, I can see that. And then, of course, like I said, this is full spoiler. So if you haven't watched these episodes, I was a little taken aback when Juro gets it. Like,
yeah,
I was like, whoa, how's this going to go? But now that we know what's going on with Lazima, I think, okay, now I see where things are headed. But let's just dive into them. Let's just dive into these episodes. We got about 15 minutes or so to kind of like get our thoughts and our emotions out. And so I like where the story's going. I think that backstory is pretty cool, but I think that they gave us the answer too quickly. I wanted to think Lazima was bad guy for a lot longer and have the character of Kara struggling with that a little bit more. Like, I want to see that turmoil that she's going through because her dad's a baddie. So I don't know how you guys felt about that line.
I think my biggest struggle so far with her as a character is obviously, like, given the kind of previous like shorts and episodes that we've had, she's been through a lot. I don't necessarily see that impacting her in a way that I would expect to see for a character of her age and her position in the story. I see her taking everything in her stride and being bold and brave and out there, and that's wonderful. But I do want to see it. This is maybe a bit sadistic of me. I do want to see a little bit of the struggle. Like, girl, what is going on? Your dad is missing. Why are we not panicking about this? I see her be kind of passionate, especially when she was speaking to Dunby and she did that whole kind of impassioned thing about kind of talking about what she wants and how she needs to find her father. And then she stops herself and goes, I'm so sorry I spoke out of turn. And everyone's like, hey, that's okay. Good job. Well done, you. But give me some struggle, I think. I don't know. Maybe I'm barking at the wrong tree.
She struggled more in the Child of Hope episode so far for me. Like her struggle, like just being down and out, I thought. So, yeah. Krissy, what about you?
Yeah. I definitely, the most intriguing parts of this was Ijima for me. And like, if he's a bad guy or if he's not. And then I enjoyed that whole plot line because I think I do have it here. I was like, I will not be surprised if his lightsaber ignites red. But going into it a bit more, once they like started diving into, I think it was like episode 3 is where they start like revealing why he did the things he did. That episode to me, like, what's the word I want to use? Like the concept of like, it's what we've seen before, which I think is kind of nice. I think Charlie mentioned it earlier, like the familiarity and like plot beats for Star Wars is like, should the Jedi even be involved in politics to begin with?
Yes.
I love that argument because we know they're so ingrained in it, even though they don't claim to be. So like that coming back and seeing it in a different way with his master kind of just like, you know, strong arming people and putting in people in power so he can benefit on his planet so the order can grow kind of thing. That was very interesting to see, and I enjoyed
like an
that.
American politician.
Basically, yeah. Sometimes Star Wars hits too close to home.
Yeah, I was kind of like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, IG. I see you. It's kind of like some of the stuff that Denise Go said this weekend. So,
and I also found it interesting while watching it when he was like trying to take out all the Sith. I was like, oh yeah, of course, sure. But I think something that I struggle with, and I wonder if anyone else does, is like this battle between Sith and Jedi, and how if you do that, nothing's in balance anymore. Like if one outbalances the other. It's such an interesting concept to think of because I think we inherently are like, we have to get rid of all the Sith because they're bad guys. But like the Force is then thrown out of balance, which is obviously something that we've discovered through this franchise. But it's always such an interesting concept because I always get caught up in like, take out all the bad guys. We're going to win because we're good. But it's like you're throwing everything off still. So that's something like just the concepts in the plot points in episode 3 were like very, I guess,
Star
like,
Wars.
Yes, and I love thinking about those concepts and how they impact the story in the galaxy. So,
yeah, I had the same thing because like chapter 3 or episode 3 and into 4, it felt a little bit more like Star Wars, even though there's a lot of things going on with sabers and that bad guy has a blue lightsaber, and I'm like, what's going on? And then, I guess. The crystal lightsaber is like the dark saber, but it's like the lightsaber where it comes out silver or something. So I got questions there, but I don't want it spoiled. Do they answer that though? Like, is there like a reason for it, or is it just something that happens? I guess never mind. Don't tell me.
I'll talk to you after the show. It's like, that's a question I want for you to ask you guys.
All right. What about? I thought Juro. Yeah, when they would go to that mining planet, which I think is weird. And in itself, is that Bibin or Bibin or
Bibin, yeah.
Bibin,
yeah.
But I liked what Juro said about because he's like, Dunbai is not strong in the Force, but he's not looking for people strong in the Force. He's looking for people to fight for others. And I was like, dang, that right there might be the line of the first 4 episodes. I thought. Yeah. Like that's what Jedi are. It doesn't necessarily have to be the strength. I think that could be a line that's quoted in Star Wars. Moving forward, I'm not looking for people strong in the Force. I'm looking for people who will fight for others. And I'm like, damn. All right, Juro, you go on now. So, but how do you guys feeling about that or whatever else you got? Hey, we're just going to be all over the map here for a little bit and just dive into it.
I really enjoyed the mining planet. I thought Bibin was really cool. The characters, like the Bibians, I suppose, if you want to use that, reminded me a lot of the dwarves from the Lord of the Rings, which always makes me happy.
Yeah.
There was some kind of visual nods in this that made me really, really happy. Like I'm aware I'm not talking about any of the plot. I'm just sat here being like, I like the character design.
Yeah.
But
no, that's cool. It was a weird dwarf elven mix, right? Because they had the pointy ears like an elf, but then they had like the short stature and they're minors, and always in fantasy that always goes to the dwarves. I did think they were unique. Like I thought it, I don't necessarily know what's going on, I feel like, but I thought it was cool looking.
I also really enjoyed the continued Star Wars narrative I love this idea that all bad guys in Star Wars have a desperate need to make giant laser cannons out of kyber crystals. This feels like a recurrent theme. And I don't know, it just really tickles me.
That was kind of, we knew we were getting that, but I was kind of like, oh, here we go again. Like,
yeah,
that's why I think I liked High Republic so much, is because it wasn't about a big giant laser.
Finally free of the giant laser.
What do you think, Krissy?
Yeah, I think I agree with you. but again, it's so Star Wars. Like, a lot of this was very familiar. I was like, oh, here we go again. I have it written down somewhere. Yeah, the story seems repetitive. Oh, a new empire takes over. Ooh, I have another big cannon. We're going to take over the galaxy. And then I went,
Size of my cannon.
yeah. And then I went, well, isn't that how history works? So I guess this is not as, it's a critique I have, but it's like, well, I guess if you read a history book, it's not that dissimilar. So
Also,
there's no Kyber
If
cannon.
it wasn't that, all hail the Kyber cannon. If it wasn't that, would we be sat here saying that it doesn't feel like Star Wars and it doesn't feel like it fits? Like, I feel like some of this is so essential to the flavor of Star Wars, if you will.
Or would it cause people to be like, why didn't they do that in The Force Awakens? Or why didn't they do that in, have an original idea, kind of thing. But yeah, I think you're right though. Like, you talked about connecting it to Star Wars. I mean, a big giant laser cannon from kyber crystals, nothing screams Star Wars like a big giant cannon.
Yeah.
Krissy, what else you got in your notebook of thoughts?
My notebook of thoughts. It really is me just focusing a lot on episode 3. Where was the other thing? Oh, he definitely gave me a bit of, you guys said Kylo for, is it Nawam, I think is his name?
Nawam, yeah.
I got Stranger vibes from him.
Yes,
I also got Stranger vibes.
When he started talking about, like, the archaic terms of Jedi and Sith and how he doesn't really relate to either, I was like, oh, here we go. Which I liked. I think that concept of someone like going outside of both of these things and like what makes a Jedi and what makes a Sith is really interesting. But that I really liked. I love when anyone just like kind of makes the Jedi look inward, and also the Sith as well, I guess, on like their concepts and like their belief systems and things like that. So that's something that I picked up on as well.
Yeah, that was when I kind of I was like, oh, all right, here we go. Someone's challenging the the good versus the bad, what's down the middle kind of thing. I was waiting for her lightsaber to turn red during that battle though, like,
yeah,
when's that, so I mean, Krissy knows when it is, but I was like, oh, here it comes, she's going to do her thing, and it didn't turn, so I was kind of like, uh-oh, because like I thought maybe that was like this redeeming thing that was going to happen over the next 4 episodes, so now I'm a little nervous.
I'm very excited for you guys to continue on. That's all I'm going to say.
I'm excited to carry on watching it.
Yeah. You know what? I was very critical in the beginning, but I think when you talk about it with people, you're like, oh, maybe it's not that bad.
Maybe it's not that bad.
And
it is kind of a weird concept though, right? Like, I want to kind of stop. Like, isn't that weird though? Like, it happened. I noticed this when we were talking about the Mandalorian movie, when we did our Road to the Mandalorian stuff. Like, I wasn't excited for Mandalorian, but every Sunday I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm so ready for it. And then we came back from Mandalorian. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then there was a panel, the Force of Others podcast did this panel. It was called Sequel Appreciation. And I was like, ready to go in there and just, support them. But I was like, oh yeah, you're not going to change my mind. But I was like, wow, like, yeah, there is a lot of great stuff in there. You know what I mean? So it's kind of fun that you brought that up, Krissy. I like that. Like, like we are critical, but sometimes I think it also comes from being like doing this, you know what I mean? Like, we're going to talk about this. So like, what do we see? And then it kind of comes down to like, hey, it's Star Wars and we love it. So
yeah. And I think
that's cool.
That's the thing to remember is like, I don't think I'm really negative at all. I think I find the good in pretty much every project. I love it because it is Star Wars, but doing, this with you guys and then, analyzing it on my own page, it's like, you kind of have to put a critical cap on something, even though you love it. Yeah. But I think also I get like energized when I talk about it. So like when you guys point out things that you like that I'm like, oh, that's a new perspective. I didn't really think of that. Or you just start seeing it in a different lens, basically. So I think when it's hard to like also be like a boo when someone's excited about something. So you're like, I can't just be mean. And I'm not. I don't hate this at all. I think it's fantastic. Right. I love that it's like an ode to the EU and like a modern day. It's a lot of fun. So I'll stop talking.
No, it's good. That's good. That's good. So, yeah, we've got a few more things we can talk about, and then we'll get out of here. So, Charlie, what's like a big theme or something that you've seen like something that just kind of like you had questioned about, or like episode you're like, hey, what's going on there? Or do you have anything like that? Or should we consort Krissy's big book of thoughts?
I would be happy to consult Krissy's big book of thoughts, because I feel like I need to watch the rest of the episodes to be able to answer that one. I feel like I need to.
That's fair. I feel kind of the same way.
I need to kind of dig in.
I pass it off on you, so I didn't have to answer that question.
So I guess it's back to me in my book.
Yes.
No, and I think we've said it before with like the repetitiveness, but it is hitting the points of Star Wars. It's hitting that like political intrigue, the good versus evil, the hope, fighting for people who can't, and like standing up for yourself. Like, even though I think it was on Bibbin where they're talking and trying to like rally people, and they're so consumed with like, well, that's happening somewhere else, so like, why do I need to be concerned with it? And it made me think of Mon Mothma, where she's like, it'll come for you one day. Like, I can't remember the exact quote, but from that fantastic speech that she does.
Yeah.
It's like, it'll come for us all. Like, it's that.
The monster.
The monster, yes. When something is happening, you need to fight regardless if it affects you. Just because, you see oppression, you should fight against it, right? It's that very classic Star Wars, message that they pass on. So everything about it, like I said, it's a love letter. It really is. Like, I know I critiqued it for being repetitive, but then I kind of corrected myself. But like, it's a message that needs, I think, to be repeated. And then Jimmy, you alluded to like, it's a lot of things that we're seeing even today, not to get like too into it, but it's a lot of things that I think people need reminding, and we need these stories to continue on. So
yeah, I think like what you just said, like, I think, we always kind of focus on like the bad things that are happening in our world, but like, it's kind of like her speech is kind of like the Winston Churchill, like, hey, like, we need to get it together and do this before this evil becomes so big that we can't stop it. And people, Charlie, this, people, I mean, they voted him out of office and they're bringing him back, and, he's a warmonger, but he's like, we've got to stop this evil. So I think, it's kind of, like you said, though, it kind of fills those beats. There's these leaders, and there always is in history. So I think that's pretty cool about that. And I had a thought, and I just lost it. So someone can go ahead and go, but hopefully it'll pop back into my head. More from the Big Book of Krissy.
Yes, all hail the Big Book of Krissy.
I don't know. I think we might have hit on a lot of it. Repetitive thoughts. I think I already talked about the balancing of like the Force and everything, which I find intriguing, which is also very relevant because I just finished listening to Master and Apprentice, and they have a fantastic conversation. If you haven't read it, it's a fantastic conversation in that book between Qui-Gon and Dooku's other Padawan. I don't remember, but it was like, yes, thank you. And it's about like, if you've thought about like bringing balance to the Force, there's an equally evil and good are balanced together. So like, why does it, kind of going back to what I said, why does it matter in what our actions do if they're just going to be the same Force? And it's like, well, it matters because you should be doing stuff regardless if you're going to like win, or if it's, you should be helping others and doing good despite the fact that it's going to be balanced. You don't want to win just to do good things. Like, that's not the point of being a good person, is like to win. It's just the right thing to do, basically. So
yeah, for sure. I had to ask you this question, Krissy. Like, my gosh, why? Drawing a blank. Just forget I said that, and we can move on.
If you've been driving for like 5 hours, no wonder your brain is a little bit mushy. That is allowed.
Yes. Yes.
My thought is like La Zima. Oh, here's my thought. Do you think they had this planned out prior to? So and I guess you can kind of answer this, I guess, Krissy, because you've seen it all so far. So when you think about the original, the Ninth Jedi, we got it in Vision Season Volume 1. La Zima comes in. We think he's like gone, right? Like, there's no way that I thought that he was going to become like the main person in this show. Like, is that a stretch? Does it feel like to you and we can come back to this and we can all talk about it next week, but like, does it feel like they had this planned out, or do you think like, we had this story, we did? Now, I'm sure they probably had it planned out after, the Jet Child of Hope, the second episode, but like, does it work in the end? Does it like make sense that we took this character from the very first episode, the Sabersmith, and now he's like the greatest Jedi on the planet? And also, before I forget, I want to get this out really quick. There's some timeline issues, I feel like, because we're talking about the Jedi being gone for thousands of years and stuff. But then there's like, oh, this guy's a Jedi. This guy's a Jedi. We were training for Jedi. How old are Juro and La Zima? Like, I have some questions about all this stuff. Like, the Jedi and Sith have been gone for ages, and these guys are Jedi and Sith. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? I know I just said a lot, but I wanted to get it all out there before I forgot it again because my brain is not functioning.
You're good. I think to answer the last part first. They talked about, I thought when they went to Bibbin, that the Reno, their master, he was like a disbanded Jedi. But no, because then like, how old would he be? But basically what they explained was like that Reno was one of the original Jedi that got disbanded, and then he was kind of doing a Luke Skywalker and rebuilding the Order on this planet. And then like, they were Force sensitive kids that he found in his new order. So like, they weren't like official Jedi, I guess. And then sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go.
And then for Zima, I'll answer this as much. I think you can kind of get the gist of it within the first 4 episodes. I think he weirdly is like the driving force. Obviously, he's the plot point for Kara, but I think as we go on and we learn more about him, he kind of is the driving force for all of this to come to fruition, like what we're watching play out. I think with like his master and being a Sabersmith and also being a Jedi, I don't think it's too big of a stretch to see how all of this narratively with him is playing out, because I think we're uncovering it. We're uncovering it at the same time with Kara. So it's like, it's her story. So this is how it would go because she's trying to connect and get her dad back. So does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. It just seemed to me like there was some weird, like, they've been around for, it's 1,000 years after the rise of Skywalker, and there hasn't been Jedi, but then there's been Jedi, and I was just kind of like, my brain was like, what's happening? Again, I'm watching it kind of sleep deprived. So,
you're good.
But yeah, I think that probably brings us to the end of the first 4 episodes. I mean, I don't know. Krissy, you say that the next 4 are better though, yeah? Like you enjoyed them more?
Episode 5 is one of my favorites. I really liked 5. I got like super excited after I watched it to see how this was going to play out. So, yeah.
Well, folks, in the chat or DM us your thoughts on the first 4 episodes. If we got, I'm sure I said some crazy stuff tonight. Like, let me know. And then we're going to come back next week. We're going to talk about the final 4 episodes, and we'll talk about this as a whole. We'll probably have lots of news and stuff too. But so, yeah, I think. Yeah, I'm here for it. I'm excited to get to finish these episodes. So,
Krissy, if I said how much of a joy it is to have you on the show, you speak so eloquently and so intelligently about all of this, and it is a joy and a delight. Thank you, genuinely.
Oh, well, thank you, Charlie. That's I appreciate that. Thank you. It's very, very sweet. And I love talking to you guys. I love talking about Star Wars. So thank you for giving me this opportunity to come on here and yap with my big notebook.
With pleasure. With pleasure.
And also, I want to give, before we get into it, a big round of applause for Jimmy for traveling, for going to a con, and then coming on and doing this. Because I know you say you're tired and brain dead, but I would be passed out. I'd just be sleeping. So thank you for coming on and doing this.
Of course, I love it.
But let's go ahead and get out of here. If you have any questions or just want your voice to be heard, then DM us on our socials or send us an email or voice note at exploretheforce@gmail.com. And remember to like this episode and share it with your Star Wars friends and family. To follow us on all of our social media platforms, all you have to do is search Explore the Force, all one word. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Also, if you want to show your support and spread the word around by image as well as voice, then head on over to Redbubble and search Explore the Force, where you can purchase unique merchandise at a massive thank you, as always, to everyone interacting with us via our social media. You guys keep this podcast amazing.
Yes, you do. And finally, you've been listening or watching Explore the Force. We have spoken. Some of it's been gibberish, but here we go.
Do you understand? Close your eyes. Feel it. I am a Senate.
As wise as Master Yoda, as powerful as Master Windu.
They'll do their job well. I'll guarantee that.
I am going to end this once and for all.
Chewie. We're home.
You are the chosen one!